Getting ready to put the master cylinder in, the first thing I ought to do is break all the bolts loose before I screw around with it, including the caliper bleeder screws, the ones in the back, and I took the wheels off. They're easier to get at. They're 8mm. They're all, and the front ones are two different sizes because they're two different brands of caliper. These bolts here, these were 9/16. Now, if you know, like a 14mm will fit on a 9/16, but tight. You know, it's a good thing to know because you really should have one of those special wrenches that kind of like wraps around here a little bit, just fits over the pipe. That's the best way to grip this. But you know what? If you don't have channel locks, is a good way to go too. Not vice grips. Channel locks will grip on there really tight in a pinch. You just get the smaller ones that fit in there. And used a lot of PB Blaster on it. But what I did was I pounded on 14mm, and it was on there real tight. Then I used a hammer to tap it with PB Blaster, and it finally came loose. Now I feel like, okay, good, this damn thing's gonna come out. It's loose where, you know, I can turn it and it doesn't turn the pipe. So the next step is I'm going to fill up the new master cylinder with brake fluid, pump it a few times where it's got fluid right up to here, and then pull this one out, and then we'll start bleeding the brakes. So, you know, it's going to be good because I don't have too many more things to do on this. This is one thing, I don't know if it's bad or good, but it's been in there since, I know I never changed it, and I changed all the other brakes, but it's been in there since August of 1991 that I know of, so it's probably the original one. And I noticed in here, the fluid gets kind of gunky. The reason being is that there's actually rust accumulating in there, I think, or some crap. So, you know, time for another one for sure, man, just to be on the safe side, even though the car seems to stop fine. Yeah, and one other thing I like to do is, because it'll save you a hell of a lot of pumping the pedal when it's in the car, I fill it up, and then I use, I mean, you can actually do this in the car, but then you're going to be squirting brake fluid all over the freaking inner fender, and, you know, it wears out paint and stuff. You hit the plunger in here till the air bubbles stop, and you know it'll squirt out the top. Then I put these screws on here, the plastic screws that came with it, so there won't be too much fluid that leaks out when I go to change it. And this way, you know, I'm not going to have to, you know, because the amount of times I pumped this just to get it where there wasn't air bubbles coming up through here, I don't know, it's probably like 150 times or some crap. I mean, it'll save you a lot of time, right there. So do this outside the car. Just hit that plunger, put some fluid in it, and you know, if this is blocked up, or even if it's not blocked up, this will squirt out. So don't hit it too hard. But usually it just squirts out like this high. And once you start seeing the bubbles stopping and some fluid coming out of here, you're pretty good to go. So I'll just fill it up, put the cover on it, and we're going to swap it out right now and start bleeding the brakes, and we should be good to go. This is kind of like something I'm just doing I don't know, thing's probably been in there since brand new, so if that's a 78, it's 18, right? So, God, it's 40 years, right? It's freaking long enough to have a master cylinder in there, even if it is still good. Master cylinder's in there, and what I did, make sure I didn't screw it up, is I put a lot of penetrating oil to make sure that this fitting turned on the pipe, so it wasn't like kinking the pipe back and forth or some crap. And I also put a little bit of grease, not inside the pipe, but on the threads on this, marine grade grease over there. And after this is all bled and stuff, I'm going to pressure wash this, and you notice, you see this was starting to get rusty, right? Some surface rust. I put chassis saver on it. Otherwise, I'd have been replacing this BS line, which is a pain in the ass because it's, you know, it's all curled up. That's how it is. I mean, I forgot what the hell they do that for. But I could probably bleed it from up here, And what I'll do is I'll bleed it from up here, which means I'll pump the pedal up but the engine started up, and use a board on the pedal to hold it down, crack this open, and see if I get any air out of it. But even after I do that and say I got all the air out of it, I'm going to push all brand new fluid through this thing. Actually, you should push all brand new fluid through your brake system every once in a while, because it will last a lot longer. Or even if you want to take a suction cup and pull the brake fluid out of this thing every once in a while, but it's best to actually flush the whole damn system. But I will be doing that too anyway. But I'm going to see if I can get brakes just from bleeding it up here. See, that's one of the things, like, you know, those bleeders. I got one of those automatic bleeders you stick on the end of the calipers and the wheel cylinders, brake cylinders, but you can't use it up here. You'll get most of the air just cracking that nut, just like bleeding it right here, because the only place it's got air is, I got most of the air out of this. The only place it got air is like right here. You might get it all out doing that. Then we'll flush all brand new fluid through it. So again, I'm nitpicky, because these are the same old original parts and nuts and stuff. That's what runs in a lot of time. Say you broke a bolt over here, then you're messing with that. Say you screwed up this, then you're messing with that. That's where it really adds up time. You want to be careful. And the other thing is, rust proof the crap out of everything, because rust is what makes these, you know, if you're working, let me just give you an example. If you're working a BMW dealer or some crap, and you're dealing with brand new BMWs coming in there, you're probably not even get your hands dirty. You're gonna stick the damn thing in there with diagnostic port. You're gonna look at almost a perfectly clean engine, go in there, pop out a couple bolts, and you're all set, right? When you're dealing with these old cars, man, even though I think they're a hell of a lot better, they're not new. So be careful with preserving them. Actually had brakes on the first try, believe it or not. Not to the floor, but it had brakes. The second try, it seems like it's all, the air's out of it, so I'm gonna start pumping all the fluid through it and get it done. Yeah, my brake light went off. You can see it's on now. That's because of the emergency brake's on. So if I tool emergency brake off, it's off. That was always on. There was a problem. It didn't seem like the brakes were bad, but there was some rust up in that master cylinder, and I bet you when I bled the rear brakes, when I just opened up and did that one master wheel cylinder on the rear brakes, that's fixed that, so that's good. But basically, this car's got all good shit on it. It's got very good brake drums, calipers, hoses, lines, shoes in the back, and the discs and the calipers in the front. All the lines have been coated with chassis saver, so you can see this is how I do my brake pedal. I just pump this down a few times, and I jam it up against in the seat, and go back there and crack it open. So, well, that's a wrap. So I know I did fix something. So next week, I'm going to be changing out this. See, bracket that goes to the Z-bar, and I welded that up there, and I put it's all welded up in here, see, but I got a new bracket for it, so we're going to change that, fuel pump, the heater hoses. We're going to do the vinegar treatment on the heater core. I'll show you how to do that. That's better than a flush. Cleans it out perfect without any damage. And The last thing I'm going to do is the water pump, the timing chain and gear set, and the upper and lower hoses. But I'll put the fan belts in it, fuel line, motor fuel pump, the clutch bracket. Oh yeah, the accelerator pump's coming in for this car. Probably see there's a. Oh, and I put some. I don't see any leakage down here. The rear main seal was leaking a little bit. I put some AT205 in there, stopped it, and that's because the car doesn't get used that much, you know. And this oil is actually that's brake fluid down there. That's what that is. And we'll grease everything up. All the front end, all the bushings have been changed previously. Front end's all brand new. I mean, it's old, but it's got very little mileage on it. Everything's got grease fittings on it. It's moved parts. And moved or TRW, but everything was changed in this damn thing. So, pretty good shape. Looks old as shit, but you know that's how these old cars keep running, man. Just keep going, keep after them. So I'm always doing something on it, but nothing real expensive. I got that from Rock Auto, and I got that from Rock Auto too. You know, I just buy a piece here and there. I'll fix this, and I'll have the gaskets on there with string. I'll have that repaired, so that'll be an extra manifold. So, anyway, good to go. And brand new tires, all balanced and stuff. Cooper snow tires, made in USA. Posi traction, 4-speed. Good enough. You see what the hell's wrong with that master cylinder, even though I kept flushing out the fluid, it kept getting dirty like that because that master cylinder was corroded. Probably was the original one. You know, the car stopping and everything. You got to change parts once in a while, man. That's just all there is to it. And that's one of the reasons why you should flush through all your fluid, or maybe use synthetic fluid. But if you use synthetic fluid, you can't mix it with dot-free. So anyway, I'm putting these tires back on. I'm putting some marine grade grease on the studs. All these studs were changed before and stuff, and also this everything was painted before, so it's pretty rust proof. So it's one thing that's a bitch about old cars, rust. Keep the rust away, you're okay, man. It'll run forever.